12 black celebrities born male you didn't know about. Try not to gasp. What if everything you thought you knew about fame, identity, and history was incomplete? What if the women who reshaped music, fashion, film, and culture had to fight twice as hard, first to survive, then to be seen? Tonight we uncover the powerful stories of black icons who were born male and rose to redefine womanhood on their own terms. These are not rumors. These are documented lives of courage, loss, brilliance, and transformation. Some were erased, others were underestimated. None asked for permission. Stay with us until the end. Subscribe to Black Excellence Legends and comment below. Is authenticity the bravest act of all? Jackie Shane. Jackie Shane's story is not simply about music or identity. It is about courage expressed at a time when courage came with real danger. Long before conversations about gender identity entered mainstream culture, Jackie Shane was already living openly as herself in an era that offered no protection, no language, and no forgiveness for difference. Born in the American South and later finding creative refuge in Canada, Shane emerged in the late 1950s and early 1960s as a commanding rhythm and blues performer whose presence was impossible to ignore. Her voice carried grit, elegance, and emotional force, blending Southern soul with a raw intensity that electrified every stage she stepped onto. Shane's breakthrough came after relocating to Toronto, where the music scene allowed slightly more freedom than the segregated United States. Fronting bands in packed clubs, she quickly earned a reputation for performances that were fearless and magnetic. Her 1962 recording, Any Other Way, became a major hit in Canada, reaching the top 10 on influential local charts and solidifying her status as a rising star. Yet what made Jackie Shane extraordinary was not only her musical ability, but the fact that she lived openly as a black transgender woman at a time when doing so invited harassment, violence, and erasure. She did not sensationalize her identity, nor did she apologize for it. She simply existed, unapologetically. Unlike many artists of her era, Shane rejected the idea that success required silence or compromise. She refused opportunities that demanded conformity, including potential moves back to the United States, choosing instead to protect her dignity over commercial expansion. Her interviews were rare but firm, emphasizing self-respect and personal freedom rather than spectacle. By the early 1970s, exhausted by prejudice and invasive curiosity, she stepped away from the spotlight entirely. For decades, rumors circulated about her fate, with many assuming she had died. The truth resurfaced years later when archival recordings were rediscovered and released, culminating in a Grammy-nominated compilation in 2018. This revival introduced Jackie Shane to a new generation, reframing her not as a forgotten figure, but as a pioneer far ahead of her time. When she passed away in 2019 at the age of 78, her legacy stood clear. Jackie Shane did not chase history, she quietly changed it. Her life remains a testament to authenticity as resistance, and to the power of living truthfully when the world insists you shouldn't. T.S. Madison. T.S. Madison's rise is a story of survival turned into self-made power. Born in the American South and raised in an environment shaped by strict expectations, Madison understood early that living truthfully would come at a cost. Assigned male at birth, she embraced her identity as a woman while still a teenager, a decision that led to rejection, homelessness, and long periods of instability. Yet those early struggles became the foundation of her unapologetic worldview. Rather than shrinking herself to fit society's limits, Madison chose visibility as a form of resistance. In her early adulthood, she entered the adult entertainment industry not as surrender, but as strategy, using the platform to finance her independence and control her narrative. Her sharp wit, fearless humor, and ability to speak candidly about taboo subjects quickly set her apart. Social media became her breakthrough. Viral videos showcasing her blunt honesty and comedic timing transformed her into a cult figure long before mainstream media caught up. What audiences connected to most was her refusal to perform shame. Madison spoke openly about gender, race, sexuality, and class with an authority that felt lived in, not rehearsed. By the late 2010s, she had evolved from viral personality to cultural commentator. She appeared in documentaries, talk shows, and major media outlets, reframing conversations around Black transgender womanhood with humor and intelligence rather than tragedy. Her career reached a historic milestone when she became the first Black transgender woman to create and star in her own reality television series, a moment that shifted representation from tokenism to ownership. The show centered not on spectacle, but on daily life, family, ambition, and accountability. Beyond entertainment, T.S. Madison is an outspoken advocate for LGBTQ+ rights, body positivity, and economic empowerment. She consistently emphasizes that transition is not only physical, but emotional and spiritual. Her influence expanded further through collaborations in music, film, and television, proving her versatility across platforms. Madison's story is not defined by rejection, but by transformation. She stands today as proof that authenticity, when paired with resilience, can rewrite destiny, and that survival itself can become a form of leadership. Isis King. Isis King's journey from homelessness to global recognition represents one of the most quietly transformative narratives in modern fashion and television. Growing up in the United States, Isis experienced deep internal conflict from an early age, knowing her identity did not align with how the world perceived her. Assigned male at birth, she faced rejection from family and peers after coming out as transgender, a rejection that ultimately left her without stable housing during her teenage years. Her turning point came when she found refuge in New York City at a support center for LGBTQ+ youth, a space that offered safety and the possibility of rebuilding. From that fragile starting point, Isis began to pursue modeling, an industry that rarely embraced transgender women at the time. Her breakthrough arrived in 2008 when she became the first openly transgender contestant on America's Next Top Model. The moment was historic. Millions of viewers were introduced to a trans woman presented not as a headline, but as a competitor, a professional, and a person with ambition. Although she did not win the competition, Isis gained something more enduring: visibility paired with dignity. Support from figures within the industry helped her access gender-affirming medical care, and she used her platform to educate audiences rather than retreat from scrutiny. Following the show, Isis built a multifaceted career spanning modeling, acting, and advocacy. She appeared in fashion campaigns promoting inclusivity and later transitioned into television roles that highlighted emotional depth rather than stereotype. Her work in critically acclaimed series addressing social justice and identity further expanded her influence. Off-screen, Isis has spoken openly about mental health, self-acceptance, and her identity as an asexual woman, challenging assumptions even within LGBTQ+ spaces. She consistently frames her journey not as a quest for validation, but for inner peace. Isis King's legacy lies in normalization. She helped shift public perception by simply existing visibly and professionally in spaces once closed to people like her. Her story is not loud but lasting, a reminder that progress often begins with presence and that dignity can be revolutionary. Janet Mock. Janet Mock's life story stands as one of the most influential narratives of truth-telling in modern media. Growing up in a working-class, multiracial household marked by instability, Janet learned early that survival required resilience. Assigned male at birth, she understood from childhood that her inner identity did not align with the role imposed on her. As a teenager, she made the courageous decision to begin her transition, funding gender-affirming surgery at just 18 through personal sacrifice while continuing her education. That choice was not driven by impulse, but by clarity and insistence on living honestly, no matter the cost. Janet refused to allow her past to define her limits. She pursued higher education with determination, earning degrees that positioned her within the media world she would later transform. Her career as a journalist gave her the tools to shape narrative, but it was her decision to publicly come out as transgender in a national magazine that changed cultural discourse. At a time when trans stories were often sensationalized or erased, Janet framed her experience with dignity, intellect, and control. Her memoir, Redefining Realness, became a cultural landmark, debuting as a New York Times bestseller and redefining how transgender lives were discussed in mainstream publishing. Rather than focusing solely on trauma, Janet centered agency, ambition, and self-definition. A second book deepened this exploration, addressing love, career pressure, and womanhood with emotional precision. These works positioned her not only as a storyteller, but as a thought leader. Janet's influence expanded further through television. As a writer, producer, and director, she helped shape groundbreaking series that placed transgender women, particularly Black and brown trans women, at the center of their own narratives. She made history behind the camera, becoming the first Black transgender woman to write and direct episodes of a major network show. Her work emphasized complexity over caricature, humanity over spectacle. Beyond entertainment, Janet Mock is a global advocate for gender justice, racial equity, and media accountability. Recognized among the world's most influential figures, she continues to challenge institutions to do more than include, to transform. Her legacy is rooted in one radical idea: telling the truth, fully and unapologetically, can change culture. Erin Rose Phillip. Erin Rose Phillip represents a new generation of trailblazers redefining beauty, ability, and visibility at their intersection. Born outside the continental United States and raised in New York, Erin's life was shaped early by multiple barriers. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy as a child and assigned male at birth, she navigated a world that often excluded her on the basis of disability, gender identity, race, and class. Yet even as society tried to minimize her presence, Erin envisioned a future in which she would be seen. As a teenager, she began sharing her journey online, speaking candidly about disability, trans identity, and self-worth. Her words resonated because they were honest, sharp, and unfiltered. At just 14, she publicly came out as transgender, documenting her transition not for attention, but for representation. Her growing online presence caught the attention of the fashion world, an industry historically resistant to difference. History was made when Erin became the first Black transgender woman with a physical disability to be signed by a major international modeling agency. That moment was not symbolic, it was structural. It forced an industry built on narrow standards to confront its exclusions. Erin soon appeared in high-profile campaigns for global brands, walked major runways, and graced the covers of influential fashion publications. Each appearance challenged assumptions about who is allowed to embody beauty and power. Beyond modeling, Erin is an author, activist, and speaker. Her memoir, published while she was still a teenager, emphasized ability over limitation and reframed disability as a dimension of identity rather than a deficit. She consistently advocates for intersectional representation, arguing that visibility must include those at the margins, not just the most palatable stories. Erin Rose Phillip's impact lies in disruption. She did not wait for permission to belong. By claiming space unapologetically, she expanded the definition of representation itself. Her career continues to signal a future where fashion, media, and culture no longer ask who fits, but who has been excluded for too long. Hari Nef. Hari Nef's rise represents a rare fusion of intellect, artistry, and fearless self-definition. Raised in the United States by a multicultural family, Hari grew up feeling an early disconnect between how the world perceived her and who she knew herself to be. Assigned male at birth, she gravitated toward writing, theater, and performance as tools of survival, spaces where imagination allowed her to exist beyond rigid categories. These early creative instincts would later become the foundation of her influence across fashion, film, and cultural criticism. While studying at Columbia University, Hari found the language and community to fully understand her gender identity and began her transition. Rather than approaching visibility cautiously, she entered public life with clarity and intention. Her breakthrough came when she became the first openly transgender model signed to IMG Worldwide, a landmark moment that reshaped the fashion industry's boundaries. Hari was not presented as novelty. She was positioned as a thinker and muse, walking major runways and appearing in high-profile editorial spreads that celebrated her androgynous elegance and sharp presence. What set Hari apart was her refusal to separate beauty from intellect. She used interviews, essays, and social platforms to challenge how femininity, race, and trans identity were commodified. Her writing, published in respected outlets, dissected gender politics and media representation with precision, insisting that inclusion without depth was meaningless. In fashion campaigns, particularly her widely discussed collaboration with Calvin Klein, she symbolized intimacy, authenticity, and modern womanhood without apology. Hari's transition into acting further expanded her reach. She delivered critically noted performances in television and film, portraying complex characters that resisted stereotype. Her work emphasized emotional nuance, proving that trans actresses could carry layered narratives rather than symbolic roles. Openly identifying as a transgender lesbian, Hari has also been vocal about the underrepresentation of dark-skinned, plus-size, and non-conforming trans women, pushing conversations beyond surface-level diversity. As a writer, performer, and activist, Hari Nef stands at the intersection of culture and critique. Her legacy is not just about breaking barriers, but about redefining what sophistication, femininity, and freedom can look like in a world still learning to listen. Yasmin Finney. Yasmin Finney represents the arrival of a new generation, one shaped by digital honesty, creative courage, and unapologetic visibility. Growing up in England, Yasmin experienced childhood through a lens of confusion and isolation. Assigned male at birth, she knew early that her identity did not align with the expectations placed upon her. School years were marked by bullying and misunderstanding, yet those same years sparked her resilience and creative voice. Rather than retreating into silence, Yasmin turned to social media as an outlet. Through short-form videos filled with humor, vulnerability, and sharp observation, she spoke openly about gender identity, self-acceptance, and daily microaggressions. Her authenticity resonated with millions, transforming her into a digital advocate for young transgender people who rarely saw themselves reflected positively. What began as self-expression evolved into cultural influence. Her online presence opened doors to mainstream media, leading to her breakthrough role in a globally successful television series. Portraying a confident, intelligent transgender teenager, Yasmin offered audiences something rare, a character defined not by trauma, but by warmth, friendship, and agency. The performance marked a significant shift in representation, presenting a Black trans girl as fully human rather than symbolic. Critical recognition soon followed, placing Yasmin among the most promising young actors of her generation. Off-screen, she has continued to challenge discrimination with grace and candor, speaking openly about exclusion from dating apps and subtle forms of bias. Yasmin highlights how progress remains uneven despite visibility, yet her tone remains hopeful. She consistently frames her identity as a source of strength, not limitation, emphasizing joy, creativity, and self-belief. At a remarkably young age, Yasmin Finney has already influenced global conversations around gender, race, and youth representation. Her impact lies not only in breaking barriers, but in normalizing presence. She embodies a future where authenticity is not radical, it is expected. Through her voice and visibility, Yasmin reminds the world that being seen can be both healing and revolutionary. Angelica Ross. Angelica Ross's life is a testament to reinvention, powered by intellect, resilience, and purpose. Raised in a deeply religious household in the American Midwest, Angelica grew up under rigid expectations that left little room for self-expression. Assigned male at birth, she understood early that her authentic self conflicted with the life others demanded of her. When she came out as transgender, the consequences were severe. By the age of 17, she was forced out of her home, abruptly confronting homelessness, isolation, and survival at society's margins. Rather than allowing adversity to define her future, Angelica transformed it into fuel. After briefly serving in the U.S. Navy, she committed fully to rebuilding her life. Facing limited employment opportunities as a Black transgender woman, she taught herself coding and web development, skills that would later become revolutionary tools. In 2014, she founded TransTech Social Enterprises, an organization dedicated to training and employing transgender and LGBTQ+ individuals in technology fields. The initiative addressed a critical gap: economic empowerment, helping hundreds escape cycles of unemployment and marginalization. Angelica's creative talents eventually brought her to mainstream entertainment. Her breakthrough role came in the acclaimed television series Pose, where she portrayed Candy Ferocity, a character whose strength and vulnerability mirrored the real struggles of ballroom culture. Her performance resonated deeply, and Candy's storyline became one of the show's most emotionally impactful arcs. Angelica later expanded her acting range through standout roles in American Horror Story, earning praise for her intensity and versatility. Beyond acting, Angelica is a powerful public intellectual and activist. She has delivered TED Talks, spoken at universities, and consistently addressed the intersections of race, gender, technology, and justice. In a historic moment, she became the first openly transgender woman to host a U.S. presidential town hall, signaling a shift in political visibility and inclusion. Angelica Ross is not defined by survival alone. She represents creation of businesses, platforms, and futures. Her legacy lies in proving that transformation is not merely physical, but structural, and that true empowerment comes from building systems where others can thrive. Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox stands as one of the most influential figures in modern television and social justice, reshaping how transgender lives are represented on a global stage. Growing up in the American South, Laverne faced relentless bullying and alienation from an early age. Assigned male at birth and raised by a single mother, she struggled with shame imposed by rigid gender norms, often feeling unsafe simply existing as herself. Yet within that hardship, she found refuge in movement, storytelling, and performance. Her passion for dance and acting became both escape and survival. After studying at elite arts institutions, Laverne pursued an acting career in New York City, where rejection was constant. Casting rooms often reduced her identity to a problem rather than potential. Still, she persisted, refining her craft and refusing to disappear. Her breakthrough came with the role of Sophia Bursette on the Netflix series Orange is the New Black. The character was groundbreaking, complex, humorous, flawed, and deeply human. Laverne's portrayal transformed television history. In 2014, she became the first openly transgender actor nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award in an acting category. That same year, her appearance on the cover of Time magazine under the headline, "The Transgender Tipping Point," marked a cultural shift, signaling transgender visibility entering mainstream consciousness. She was no longer just an actress, she was a symbol of progress. Yet Laverne consistently emphasized that visibility must be paired with action. She produced award-winning documentaries, advocated for prison reform, and worked with major civil rights organizations to address violence against transgender people, particularly Black trans women. Her activism is grounded in education, empathy, and accountability. Laverne Cox's legacy is built on dignity. She did not ask to be accepted by shrinking herself. Instead, she expanded the narrative, proving that representation can be intelligent, powerful, and transformative. Through her talent and advocacy, she didn't just open doors, she changed who those doors were built for. Dominique Jackson. Dominique Jackson's life reads like a testament forged in fire, one shaped by exile, survival, and ultimate self-mastery. Born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, Dominique understood from an early age that her femininity marked her as a target. Assigned male at birth, she refused to suppress who she was, even as that authenticity exposed her to physical abuse, social rejection, and systemic violence. By her mid-teens, the danger became unbearable. At just 15 years old, Dominique fled her homeland, seeking safety in the United States, with little more than determination and instinct. What followed was not immediate salvation, but struggle. Homelessness, exploitation, and life on the margins became her reality in New York City. Yet it was within that harsh landscape that Dominique found something transformative: the ballroom scene. In a world that had repeatedly denied her worth, ballroom offered family, structure, and affirmation. As a member of legendary houses, she refined not only her runway walk, but her sense of self. Her presence, commanding, elegant, and fearless, quickly elevated her to icon status within ballroom culture, where she earned the revered title of legend. Dominique's transition from underground legend to mainstream star came with her casting as Electra Abundance Evangelista in the groundbreaking series Pose. The role was revolutionary. Electra was not written as a victim, but as a powerful, flawed, and unapologetic Black trans woman navigating wealth, desire, and survival. Dominique's performance blended sharp authority with emotional depth, earning widespread critical praise and redefining what trans representation on television could look like. Beyond acting, Dominique is an outspoken activist, author, and global advocate. She has used her platform to address transphobia, racism, and violence against trans women of color, speaking at international forums and collaborating with human rights organizations. Her memoir further cemented her role as both storyteller and witness. Dominique Jackson's legacy is not about overcoming adversity, it is about refusing erasure. From the ballroom floor to the global screen, she embodies sovereignty. Her story proves that survival, when paired with self-belief, can become undeniable power. Peppermint. Peppermint's journey reflects the rare balance of joy, discipline, and radical visibility. Raised in a conservative environment, Peppermint grew up knowing that her identity set her apart long before she had the language to explain it. Assigned male at birth, she gravitated naturally toward music, performance, and expression, spaces where imagination offered freedom when reality did not. Yet even those passions were met with resistance, forcing her to develop resilience alongside talent. After relocating to New York City, Peppermint immersed herself in the drag and nightlife scene, where she quickly became known for her sharp wit, vocal ability, and commanding stage presence. Unlike many performers, she approached drag not only as entertainment, but as storytelling, using humor and song to explore gender, love, and self-acceptance. Her reputation grew steadily, but her historic breakthrough arrived when she competed on RuPaul's Drag Race, becoming the first openly transgender woman to do so. Her participation marked a cultural turning point. Rather than centering controversy, Peppermint focused on excellence, advancing to the final stages of the competition and earning respect for her professionalism and authenticity. Visibility did not dilute her artistry, it amplified it. She used her platform to discuss trans inclusion, racial equity, and the difference between performance and identity, educating audiences without sacrificing warmth. Peppermint's success expanded beyond television. She made Broadway history as the first openly transgender woman to originate a principal role in a major production, earning critical acclaim for her vocal strength and stage command. Her music career further showcased her versatility, blending pop, dance, and R&B while exploring themes of intimacy and resilience. Beyond accolades, Peppermint is a committed activist and mentor, working with organizations that support trans youth and queer artists of color. Her legacy lies in visibility paired with joy. She does not demand space through anger, but through excellence, proving that representation can be celebratory, nuanced, and deeply human. Trace Lysette. Trace Lysette's journey is one of quiet bravery that gradually reshaped the boundaries of modern cinema. Raised in a working-class environment in the American Midwest, Trace grew up navigating silence as a form of survival. Assigned male at birth, she understood from an early age that expressing her femininity openly could invite danger. For years, she learned how to move through the world carefully, balancing self-preservation with an inner certainty about who she truly was. As a young adult, Trace pursued athletic training before turning toward performance, drawn to storytelling as a space where complexity was allowed. After beginning her transition, she encountered the harsh realities of the entertainment industry. Casting rooms often labeled her identity as too complicated, reducing her to a risk rather than a possibility. Economic instability followed, forcing her to work in nightlife and adult spaces, while quietly investing in acting lessons and self-development. These years were not glamorous, but they were formative, teaching her discipline, emotional control, and resilience. Her breakthrough arrived with the critically acclaimed television series, Transparent. Trace's performance stood out for its restraint and humanity. Rather than leaning into stereotype, she portrayed a character defined by tenderness, humor, and emotional truth. The role marked a significant shift in how transgender women were represented on screen, not as symbols, but as fully realized people. Industry attention followed, but Trace remained deliberate in her choices, prioritizing integrity over speed. A defining milestone came when she starred in an independent feature film that premiered at a major European film festival, making history as the first openly transgender actress to lead a film in that competition's official selection. Her performance was widely praised for its subtlety and emotional depth, earning standing ovations and positioning her among the most compelling actors of her generation, regardless of gender identity. Beyond acting, Trace Lysette has become a respected voice in conversations about equity and safety in the film industry. She has spoken openly about harassment, power imbalance, and the additional vulnerabilities faced by transgender women, contributing to broader cultural reckoning within entertainment. Her advocacy is measured, grounded in lived experience rather than rhetoric. Trace's legacy is built on presence. She does not seek attention through spectacle, but through truth. By insisting on roles that reflect real humanity, she has helped redefine what inclusion looks like on screen. Her career stands as proof that authenticity, when protected and nurtured, can quietly transform an entire industry. After hearing these stories, one question refuses to disappear. Why does truth still make people uncomfortable? These women didn't deceive the world, they survived it. Yet society continues to debate their legitimacy instead of honoring their impact. Should talent, legacy, and contribution be overshadowed by how someone was born? Or does that obsession reveal a deeper fear of freedom itself? Progress celebrates visibility, but acceptance still lags behind. Now the conversation belongs to you. Share your honest thoughts in the comments, respectfully and openly. Like, subscribe, and stay connected with Black Excellence Legends, because Black excellence includes the courage to live out loud, even when the world resists.